Hey everyone, it's Dr. Scott. Hey, I just wanted to take you through just a brief morning mobility routine that I use quite a bit. I am a big fan of getting the hip flexors loose, mobilizing the spine, and just going through some basic core activation movements to try and get everything moving in the morning. So I wanted to show you one of the routines that I really like. This is my little home kind of workout slash prehab rehab area. I tend to do a lot of yoga and calisthenics when I'm here at my house. So I have my yoga mat spread out here. I've got yoga blocks in case I need something to try and base up on if there's a movement where maybe I don't have the strength or the mobility yet. But all of my exercises at this point are about progression. So when I get going in the morning, I always focus on trying to get everything moving, lubricated, get the joints really kind of opened up. So one of the things I always warm up with is I warm up with a wrist stretch. And if you do a lot of things with either yoga or lifting weights or calisthenics, it's really important that we focus on getting the joints in the wrist moving and that we balance things out, because most of the movements that we all do during the day bring our wrists into this position, which turns these muscles on a lot, but doesn't help to go and get these muscles to become more active. So it's real easy for these muscles called your wrist flexors to get very tight. So part of what we have to start off with is putting some length in those guys. So let me show you the routine that I use here to get some mobility in the wrist. So first things first, when I get into my position, I take both hands, I turn backwards. What I'm doing is I have my biceps facing forward. I have myself in a spine neutral position here with my knees and my hips in alignment beneath me. And what I do is I just slowly but surely put a little bit of gentle weight into my wrists. And so in doing so, I'm keeping my elbows locked in straight, and I just slowly rock back and forth on it, trying to increase the length of those flexors while keeping my biceps pointing straight forward, okay? So I'll do this anywhere from 3 to 5 times, especially if I feel tighter, I'll do it a little bit more. Just try and put as much length in these guys as I can, because so much of what I do involves using those muscles. Turn my hands in, like this. This one here is a little more intense in the beginning until you get used to putting weight on your wrist in this position. So what I do is I gently rock back and forth. So this may not feel awesome in the beginning, but once you start getting some flexibility in your wrist, this helps out a lot to be able to get those muscles to open up, get the joints moving better. Because if the flexors get too tight or the extensors get too tight, you're gonna have a lot of wrist pain and a lot of wrist problems. And I'll go through and rock back and forth on those. Then I'll take my hands out to the side. Same thing again, I'll rock side to side, to side, to side, getting everything nice and opened up here so that we can get some more length in, get the joints moving, and then sometimes if I feel like I'm tight, I'll even rock and roll back and forth, trying to open things up. Again, try not to put too much weight into the rest. That's why I keep myself in some control through the core, through the pelvis. And then I like to do wrist rolls. And so wrist rolls are real simple. You take thumb and middle finger, or thumb and first finger, depending on how big your hands are. Take them here and just roll the wrists. You want to try and create a little space. So when you put your fingers around, you're trying to really kind of guide the wrist, opening things up and spacing things out. Same thing here, opposite side. And I'll do that 5 to 10 times, no particular count, just until it feels pretty nice and loose for me. So once I get done with that, I always will move into cat-cows. And for those of you who don't do yoga, it's a tremendous spine mobility. Pat has a video on it that is on the page here, but I'm going to demonstrate how I implement it in my workout routine. So as I go through, I set my alignment, kind of the same thing that Pat talks about in the video, right? I'm putting myself in a very neutral position. So stacking my wrists and shoulders, getting my hips in alignment here, okay? So then I'll gently roll through the positions of the cat-cow. I'm pushing myself away here, back down, up, back down, and I'm going to roll through and do about 10 of these. Especially first thing in the morning, this is one of the best movements to do, because when you sit or when you sleep, the spine doesn't move. So when you wake up in the morning, the spine is going to be a lot tighter because it hasn't moved in many, many hours, but also if you do have back issues, your discs swell up at night. They get bigger, and this is the way that they actually get fed. So it's supposed to happen, but if you've got any kind of a back problem, any type of disc issues, then those discs are swollen and it'll make you hurt more in the morning. So this is a great tool just to help to get the spine moving, because motion is what actually gets rid of back pain. When the vertebrae stop moving, when they're fixated, is when you perceive pain. And that's like 10. So great little mobility. We're going to start working on getting the hip flexors loose now. And so when we stretch the hip flexors, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. So this is your actual alignment here, like this, 90-90, okay? Maybe want to sneak this foot out a little bit more so you have some room to push yourself. And so the whole point with this one as you're doing this movement is you stand up tall. I like to put a hand here to try and get myself in a neutral position. I curl my back toes, and as I get into this position, I stand real tall, put my shoulders down and away, and I push with my back leg. So, cool little phenomenon. The way that the brain works is when you turn one muscle on, like I'm turning my glute on now, it turns off my hip flexor, which naturally wants to shorten because I was sleeping in a semi-fetal position. By doing this, it opens up my hip flexors and allows me to put some length in these guys, because the muscles on the front side of the thigh, they actually attach on the front side of the spine. And so what they do is they will actually go through and shorten overnight and increase the amount of tension on my spine. So same thing again here, we're going to go through, curl, get myself in good alignment, and I push. Same thing. And I try to hold that for anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds, allowing my hip flexors to open up. And boy, first thing in the morning, these guys feel really tight. And I'm done there. So, next thing I like to roll into is I like to roll into a cat-cow. And if you've never done a cat-cow before, it's a great movement because it's very good at opening up the back side of the body. So when you plant in this position, you put your hands out in front of you on your mat, about shoulder width apart, and the first thing you want to do is you want to turn those elbows forward, getting the biceps here facing away. Hand alignment, so I'm gripping the ground, and I want my first finger to be essentially pointing straight ahead, and the rest of my hands here, I'm gripping the ground as I push myself up. So on 3, I'm going to come up, and I'm going to drive my heels to the ground, neutral spine, pushing myself away in this direction. 1, 2, 3. So you see in this position, my ultimate goal is to push myself away. And so I'm actively engaging my shoulders, and I'm pushing myself back towards the back wall, and at the same time I'm driving my heels into the ground. Now, many of us have tight calves and hamstrings, so one of the best things to do is to walk yourself into the dog. It progressively lengthens the hamstrings and the calves, opening up the backside of the body. As you do this, you'll notice that your calves are going to get looser and looser, making it easier and easier to sink into this position here when you have both heels down. And so that's already opened me up quite a bit just by doing that. And then I'm actively driving myself back by pushing my shoulders, engaging my lower trapezius muscles and my rhomboid muscles and my deltoids, pushing myself backwards. So for those of you who have a desk job, great position for you, because this is the counter to everything that you do all day long. It pulls your shoulders back into the open position, stretches out your lats right in here, because those muscles get really short, as do your pec muscles, which are the chest muscles. And in doing so, it allows you to get your shoulders to retract or pull back like this, because most of your position here, like this at your desk job, is like this. And so the more that you sit in this position, the shorter these muscles here are going to get, the more these muscles are going to get tight, the more the muscles on the front side of the neck are going to get tight, and the back side of the neck are going to get tight. By doing this type of a movement, we're pulling all of the muscles back into play that are supposed to be postural muscles. So this really helps a lot with restoring posture. Now, the last movement that I'm going to show you here before we sign off is a movement that I like to do that is called a forward fold. And so a lot of us have a lot of compression in the low back here from just sitting, from lifting, from just day-to-day abuse. So what this movement allows you to do is to help to gently open up the spine, but in a very safe way. And I'm going to demo this for you from beginning to end so you understand exactly how we want to do this. So this is a standing movement, okay? So as we do this, I'm actually going to move the camera up here a little bit. So as we do this movement, a couple of things. So it's really important when you do this to focus heavy on alignment. So I'm going to show you here from the side how we do this. So as I go into this movement, my feet are give or take shoulder width apart. And as I move into this position here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my hips back, called a hip hinge, take my arms here like this. You see my spine is still completely neutral. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow myself to unroll. Okay, it's called a forward fold. And I'll allow my spine to lengthen. Now, as I'm in this position here, one of my main goals is I want to allow my spine to lengthen. So I take several deep breaths, pulling the breath all the way from my belly, not from my chest. And as you'll notice, as I take each deep breath, I get a little bit lower because it allows my muscles on the backside of my body to relax more. And I'm going to hold this for like 5 breaths. Now before I come up, my focus is going to be on restoring alignment. So when I come up, I'm going to bring myself into a flat back. So go from here, flat back, neutral position here. I'm going to contract the muscles of my backside, pulling my shoulder blades together like this. Then I'm going to sweep up into a chair pose. And I'm going to sink down. Now you see with this pose, the focus is heavy on alignment. I want my back to be as straight as humanly possible. I'm gripping the ground with my feet, and I'm pulling myself back into this position actively. Hold this position for 10 seconds. Come straight up. Hands up overhead. Get a little bit of extension. And I bring my arms onto the side. And I squeeze everything together. Okay. So, it's a simple basic routine that you can do much quicker than what we did. I was trying to give some explanations here about the positions and the movements. But as you do this, just keep in mind that it's all about just kind of flowing through these and just getting the muscles warm, getting things opened up. I tend to do this or a variation of this every day, whether I'm lifting weights or doing yoga or doing calisthenics, because the focus always in these is about priming the muscles for movement, because we want to focus on quality of movement, not quantity. If your focus is on trying to do a lot of movement and the patterns of movement are bad, then you're going to eventually get hurt. So we focus on trying to get everything at normal length, try to get the muscle tissues warm, and then we focus on the quality of our movement, so we practice movement patterns, and we'll do that in another video. And then as we focus on movement patterns, we try and force our bodies to learn how to move correctly, how to move safely, how to get the joints prepped, how to align everything, so that as we progress with weight, we're practicing good patterns of movement, not bad, and we don't get hurt. Okay? So this is just a quick little run through on my morning warm-up. I hope this is helpful for you. If this was, do me a favor. I want you to give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed to our page yet, make sure you subscribe. We've got lots of these things coming down the pike. Tons more demo videos. If there are certain things that you'd like to see, do me a favor. Let me know. I want you to put a comment on there, post it on the page of what you'd like to see, because it's all about you guys. You know, the whole point of Healthy You is we want to help you to know everything that you need to about health, nutrition, exercise, every area of wellness. And so we're going to be completely responsive to what you ask us to put on. So if there's things that you'd like to see, whether it's additional exercises, different topics, I will be more than happy to get videos made on those. And yeah, this is Dr. Scott. I'm out of here. God bless.